Who would have thought 5 years ago we would go from this
The big dog.
Suffering succotash, son.
to this?
Acknowledge me.
The Bloodline storyline has redefined not only factions in WWE, but long-term storytelling. Everything that you see on screen means something. But how did we get here? What started with Roman Reigns claiming his spot as the tribal chief has turned into one of the most emotional, unpredictable, and at times downright poetic sagas in wrestling history. Here on Call It in the Ring, we are going to do a multiple-part series breaking down the origins, betrayals, twists and turns, and give you the full story of the Bloodline. For a shocking reveal to the crazy cliffhangers and everything in between, so buckle up because it's time to rewind the Bloodline. Roman is the attraction. He's always had the charisma. He always could go in the ring. The biggest difference now is that it is authentically him. It's not Vince's cookie cutter character anymore. It's Roman himself. You can see that in the extension of who he really is, which is a family person who really wants the responsibility of carrying the family name. And being that you are working that closely with family all the time on screen, it probably just makes it more comfortable for all of them to play all these parts because it's the parts that they've literally played throughout their entire life.
Yeah, I think that Roman is truly Vince's final masterpiece. And it's really incredible because the company overall was creatively in one of its lowest places ever in the late 20 teens. And before Vince bowed out as disgraced as humanly possible, Roman's return and then heel turn and morphing into the tribal chief with the Bloodline storyline butted up against signing Cody and putting the rocket ship onto him were two strokes of creative genius. And Roman now is not just a star. He's a true superstar. He's a needle mover. He makes people tune in and he makes people come back for more. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think that this Bloodline storyline is in the same vein of Austin and McMahon in that it can go on in perpetuity, but in order to do so, it needs layers, it needs fresh faces, and it needs to keep continuity that allows the story to build. And then this allows for fresh faces to be introduced and then those layers to be put on. And so far, for 4 years, brother, we've gotten it. And it's incredible.
You can't tell the story of the Bloodline without going the whole way back to 2020. And this was a wild time in the world of pro wrestling. WWE was in its largest creative lull in years. You had AEW providing the first real quote unquote competition in pro wrestling in years. And in January of 2020, Roman Reigns was cast as
The big dog.
And we were told over and over again that it was his yard. And after years of putting him in main event programs with everyone from Brock to Triple H to Undertaker, the fans never really accepted him as their guy. Roman and his cousins, the Usos, had worked together in the past here early in 2020. They were really coming off as like a total mid-card act. And Mongoose, what do you remember of Roman at this time?
So when you would hear the big dog music, which, brother, I've already heard it too many times in rewatching from the beginning of that year. It was an instant eye roll. And it's a shame because I got back into wrestling full time when the Shield was really coming of age. Yeah. And I was always an Ambrose guy. I'm still a Mox man. Seth then gets the heist of the century. And it really seemed like through the late 20 teens, he was overtaking Roman as who would be the guy in the company, especially here in 2020, because Mox isn't even there anymore. And he's carrying the mantle in the competition. Mm-hmm. And so what's crazy is that this wasn't by choice, because Roman main evented WrestleMania 31, 32, 33, 34. So they tried over and over to make him the man. And I don't remember one time watching any of those matches thinking, this is the one. You know, the star is born. They've done it. And you think about how many misses that there were too. Like, remember, Brock was the man.
Yeah.
And they turned Brock into, this guy doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to be here, only to try to get people to boo Brock and cheer Roman. And it still didn't work. All it did was make people hate Roman and Brock.
Right. And I
like,
think
it's nuts, man.
he even had a real life health issue that he still struggles with today. And the way that he was brought back and booked, that wasn't even, they did him such a disservice in the booking and the presentation of him that didn't even help him at all. It was worse, if not anything.
Yeah, it's crazy because real life can impact, the presentation of pro wrestling in so many different ways. And they were given a real, true babyface comeback story.
Yeah.
And booked it into oblivion. Do you know what I'm saying? It's nuts. It's really crazy how the bag got fumbled here. But let's go back, brother. Let's wind this thing the whole way back. And how about you take us to the start of our timeline here?
So Roman closes 2019 doing street fights with Baron Corbin on house shows. And so he and Daniel Bryan teamed up to tag against Dolph Ziggler and King Corbin on the first SmackDown of the year in 2020, and it ends in a no contest.
I took one for the team here and watched this one. They do a promo together early in the show, and Roman is wearing his Guard the Yard shirt, and we have two of the all-time greats, and the whole act just feels like something's missing, though. What? I don't know, but it's something. And Roman comes out for the match. He's literally slapping hands, pounding fists, kissing babies. And we're in the middle of, main event TV tag. And dude, we get the Bray Wyatt spooky Fiend laugh and cut to commercial and the flashbacks. I eliminated that from my mind. Do you know what I mean? I compartmentalized that. We come back from commercial and Roman is babyface selling. And I'll tell you what, man, he has upped his entire game to just levels and levels and levels. And his selling is really part of it. His heel selling is excellent. Him struggling babyface selling, just, it doesn't work, man. And the match ends in the worst no contest you've ever seen. Red light. Music. And so Daniel Bryan just gets obliviated by the Fiend. That part's over. Roman then gets attacked by all the geeks with dog food and handcuffs. It's the longest handcuffs you've ever seen. But out to save the day, we get the Usos. And so now we have the geek squad of Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, and Bobby Roode versus the Bloodline trio, the Usos and Roman Reigns.
And after this TV, Roman beats King Corbin in a pair of house show matches where loser eats dog food. In his next TV match, he beats Robert Roode in a tables match on SmackDown January 17th.
So on this show, you want to talk about just what a wild time to be alive. The Usos are wrestling the Revival. We then have Sami Zayn hanging out with Nakamura and Cesaro as the Artist Collective that are in a segment that gets interrupted by Elias. What?
What timeline are we in?
I know, dude. It's the most insane Mad Libs you could ever think of for a segment. So before the actual tables match, there's a promo segment with Rude, Dolph, and King Corbin. And Corbin wants Rude to put Roman through a table so that he can take everything away from Roman at the Rumble. Basically, what we have here is the winner of this match, this tables match, picks the stips for the Roman and Corbin match at the Rumble. For the match itself, I need to say that babyface Roman cocking the fist and putting it into the floor with the pyro around, in theory sounds cool, but dude, it's so cheesy. It really is. And for the match itself, Roman has a spot where he runs the entire way around the ring, misses a spear, eats the barricade, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, right? Baron Corbin's music hits, and he is brought out by this fleet of geeks carrying him on this king platform while there's a match going down at ringside. I'm dying as all this is, these guys just struggle bussing, bringing him out. And then he's standing at the top of the entranceway, he being Baron Corbin, wearing this animal pelt robe. Like, my God, man. So the Geek Squad runs down and they all gang up on Roman. They go for the announcer table spot and the Usos come to the rescue. The Usos hit stereo super kicks and dives, and Corey Graves says,
The Bloodline in full effect on Friday Night SmackDown.
That's an incredible nugget that they're literally telling you months in advance that this is the Bloodline.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, and we got more coming, brother. So huge pop for the finish here. Roman does the spear through the table.
That's even crazier that January 17th of 2020, they're literally telling you the Bloodline is forming, and this is months and months in advance of this even happening. So leading into the Rumble of 2020, Roman is on house shows teaming up with the Usos, and they're all baby faces, which is even worse. And they're beating Ziggler, Corbin, and Robert Roode.
And not just baby faces, they're white meat baby faces. And that's the problem. You had said before that a baby face needs to be organic.
So to kick off the Rumble of 2020, Roman beats Corbin in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And I remember this, and I remember as soon as Roman's music hit, that place was raining with boos.
Yeah, and like I said, man, he doesn't play the part bad. It's just not good. And it's weird. It's weird to see.
Yeah.
And he's a good hand, man, because he doesn't get wavered. I mean, he gets dumped on and he keeps on keeping on.
And one thing that I noticed from this is Corbin, like you had mentioned, is getting carried out by all the geeks to the ring. He's literally acknowledged, he's got the finger up the entire way down the ring. They are planting all of these seeds ahead of time. It's like they kind of knew where they were going long in advance. They just needed to get there.
Very, very interesting, man. And the other thing about it, that this is sort of what I always hope, is that in my heart of hearts, while I want them to want to kill each other on screen, I do want everybody to like be bros in the back. And I hope so bad that Roman was like, dude, that's awesome. I'm taking that.
Yeah. Same.
Like that's going to be my, I need to say before the super punch is so corny when Roman's a good guy, dude.
Whenever he's a bad guy and he's like, if the full bloodline is in effect, it's awesome. But God, in 2020, was it dead?
Yep. So I thought that this was very decent for a Falls Count Anywhere match. I did. Same formula that we had on TV before. Geeks run down, Usos even the odds. On how Vince is this porta potty spot?
Dude, I saw that and I instantly, you probably heard my eyes rolling from where you were. That's how loud it was. Like, I was just like, oh my, of course we're going to get a porta pot spot. Like, why? It doesn't need to happen, but of course we got one.
The fact that Corbin came out clean, I thought was a huge win.
Yes, whenever that door opened, I couldn't remember what happened, but as soon as that door opened and he was clean, I was like, oh, thank God they didn't fully humiliate everybody here.
Yep. So Roman wins that one. The finish is on like the dugout or whatever. Again, cool match. So now we're into the Rumble itself. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we fast forward later in the show. Roman does come into the Rumble. He is eliminated by Drew McIntyre as the final person, and Drew McIntyre wins that Royal Rumble. And the amount of boos when Roman's music hit and he gets in the ring, he gets any type of offense. When he eliminated Edge, the boos that were just pouring onto him was so loud. I was praying to God that they were not going to have him win that match and have him main event for like a fifth time in a row.
Yeah, I actually really liked the stuff with him and Edge.
Yeah.
And like you said, that reaction, I get it. I did, but I thought that rewatch I thought was really good stuff, man.
That's the problem that you see here is like it's good. The fans are just revolting against all of it.
And that's the problem. Whereas now, even if they do things that aren't good, the fans buy it all. Right. And it just makes it seem that much better. And that's a good thing. It really is. When Brock is finally eliminated and Paul Heyman just beside himself, standing out there going,
yeah.
Heyman is a master at this. And the really cool thing is that obviously once this falls apart, now that the strings are starting to unwind with these two, we'll see Heyman down the road. And we're also told, you had said about, is he going to main event another one, whatever. They said during this match that Roman has won one before, and he was the runner-up 3 other times already. So this was his 4th time as runner-up. No wonder people are sick of this dude.
He was always there. He was always on the fringes of either. He was either in the main event or he was like the guy that you had to go through to get to the main event. It was
right.
So Drew claymores Roman. He eliminates him. Drew wins the Royal Rumble. Roman doesn't have anything going on with this WrestleMania. So we now jump to the January 31st, 2020 SmackDown, where Roman and the Usos beat Ziggler, Corbin, and Rude in a loser eats dog food match on SmackDown. And this, to me, was a reminder to Roman that he was on his way down the card, and this is just pure humiliation. I'm sure that they would love to erase all of this from everyone's minds.
Yeah. I do need to say that we talked Nuggets before, and here we go again. A couple of minutes into this show, they said, Michael Cole says,
they call it the Bloodline. Roman Reigns in his cut.
They're planting more seeds again.
Yep. So there's a babyface promo with these guys at the start of the show before the match. And it's really something because it is not at all what these last few years have been. When these guys get into the ring right now, they command the crowd. They own the audience. They have everyone eating out of the palm of their hand. And here it's just, it's forced. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's just cringe. Jay gives a yeet.
Going on. Yeet. Good. Because the last time.
A couple of minutes into the promo here, which is something. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because Jimmy says something to Jay and Jay gives a yeet. And then dude, this is 2020.
That is insane.
Yeet.
Yes. And they show the dog food spot again. Roman starts calling Corbin fetish boy, saying that he has a dog food fetish, which obviously this is a Fed line and it's very cringe. It's time for the main event. And at this time, dude, I've heard Roman's and Baron's music juxtaposed against each other and as many times as I ever need to hear it. And again, it's just so weird to see Roman selling for these guys. He's the baby face. He's got to play baby face in peril. That's part of the story structure of the matches. It's just strange to see because we won't see that for a very long time. Actually, pretty much since Roman wins, he wins it with a roll up. He doesn't win it with his move. And again, man, I know we got to get to Saudi. That's where we're going to head here. So you don't want to just beat him clean, but shoot, man. Like I'm just thinking like you got to beat this guy with the roll up.
They have this cart of doggy chow and bowls of dog food or whatever it is. And they pour it all over Corbin. And when they're done, Roman is wearing so much dog food on himself than what Corbin is.
He really is. Corbin never eats it. And if the humiliation was just putting it all on top of him, Roman was just as covered. It was weird. And now that we're into February, my man, on February 10th, the WWE announced that WrestleMania 37 will be held at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California on March 28th, 2021. The working plan was for Roman Reigns to face The Rock, as Roman was at the press conference announcing the date and the venue and said there that it would be the, quote, right time and right place, end quote, for such a match.
I actually remember this. Now that you said that, I remember that happened.
Yeah, pretty wild, man.
February 14th, 2020, Daniel Bryan and Roman beat John Morrison and The Miz on SmackDown.
Yeah, this is announced as Roman and a mystery partner versus The Miz and Morrison. And when the show started, I was way more interested in seeing Otis and Mandy's first date than this match. Like I was all in on Otis and Mandy, not so much on this. So we're a week after the dog food thing. Corbin comes down. He demands one more match, and Roman says he'll get one in a steel cage in Saudi Arabia. We cut to the match. The guest partner is Daniel Bryan. And what I liked about this is that DB is in the ring selling, and Roman is on the apron holding the tag rope, doing the biggest baby face stomp you ever saw. His leg was like up to his ear, and then it would stomp down onto the mat, trying to fire up for the hot tag. I did love that, man. I really did. So the finish of this match, Miz ate a Superman punch so poorly that Michael Cole had to say that Roman didn't get all of it.
Roman didn't get all of it, but I believe he got enough of it.
Dude, it was just Roman and Miz in the middle of the ring. There was no reason to not get all of it. It's just Miz-Mizzin. At least we get a clean spear. Roman gets the pin. What afterwards? We get a Corbin sneak attack, and we're ready for the Super Showdown. But detour me off here a little bit, John. What do you got?
So yeah, I pulled a little excerpt of The Observer from February of 2020.
So the original plan for the main event is Roman and the Fiend. And basically the idea is that Roman was given Corbin to keep him separate from the Fiend so that they basically didn't need to worry about those two universes overlapping until we got to Mania season.
Okay.
The wild card here is that Goldberg came back to entertain the Saudi prince and got over so insane with the live crowds. Ratings were spiking. So now Vince is going, I wonder if this is the move. So heading into Saudi Arabia, the rumor is be Goldberg, because Roman is going to he is slated to win the Elimination Chamber in March in Philadelphia to get the title shot. That was sort of, that, and they've done that in years since. Yeah. The Rumble gets one, the Elimination Chamber gets the other one. Right. But again, this is just speculation, and they are putting out there right now, will Goldberg beat the Fiend?
So Roman continues beating Corbin on the house shows and then faces Corbin in a steel cage at the February 27th Super Showdown.
Yeah, during this match, I actually thought it was fine. I mean, for a 10-minute cage match, it was what it was. I laughed out loud that Corbin goes for the Superman punch with the chain on his hand, and Roman cuts him off and hits him with one instead, and they get a "This is awesome" chant.
Yes. This crowd was really odd because they booed Roman, but they were cheering him at the same time. It was odd.
Yeah, well, I think that they booed him because that's what people do in the States. Yeah. But they loved him because, I mean, dude, they love everything over there. You know what I'm saying? Like the nostalgia factor, and then just the good guys are always the best good guys. So, it makes sense. Finish of this, we saw Roman hitting the Superman punch with the chain for the finish. Not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. So I do need to say, though, Goldberg finishes that show by beating the Fiend in and I don't remember exactly, was it like a minute and a half, something?
Yeah, it was really quick.
So after the Saudi show, the Observer reports that the long-term booking plan was basically the Fiend kills everyone on SmackDown. Roman's kept away. We just mentioned that a little bit ago. and that the monster heel will face the badass baby face at WrestleMania. So that's the idea. And Dave says, look, it works. Like that formula, even if the heel gets cheered, we have the rough and tough guy versus the big monster heel. This is going to be awesome. Yeah. That was changed though, because Goldberg's return starts to gin up interest, and Vince felt that the better marquee was Roman Reigns versus Goldberg, with the Fiend now being used for an opponent for Roman down the road.
Well, that's really interesting that you brought that up, because I remember us talking about this, saying spear versus spear is incredible, and I want to see spear versus spear.
Yeah.
And so the last feud before going away was Roman and the Usos beating King Corbin, Robert Roode, and Sheamus on the house shows. And his last one was March 1st of 2020.
We're now at the place where sporting events everywhere are being canceled. There are seasons being shut down, school closures, everything else is happening. And so, as John had alluded to before, Roman has this cancer battle, immunocompromised. He steps away because of the uncertainty with, whatever the health protocols are, the virus, all this other stuff. And so WrestleMania is now changed. We go from Roman versus Goldberg to Braun Strowman versus Goldberg. So we have Braun Strowman beating Goldberg. We then go through the summer. We are in the Thunderdome. This was something, man, because I was watching Summerslam 2020, which is where we're going to finish out here. And it was just very strange to have my 7-year-old baby mongoose come down and be like, "Oh, Dad, this was COVID, huh?" And I was like, yeah, it was. And she was like, "So those people, are they actually watching?" And I was like, you know what? I don't know if they are. They're reacting, but I don't know if they're actually watching. So we are at SummerSlam 2020. And we've got the Fiend versus Braun Strowman. Dude, this was a mongoose bumps moment.
Yeah.
Like, I remembered watching that, because one thing that they did a callback to was earlier in the summer when they did that Swamp Wyatt versus Braun Strowman match. Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, I wish I didn't. But I did. And so I was just thinking, while those two were having the blow off, I can put myself back in time thinking, man, this is something. I wonder where we go now with the Fiend. And then, dude, out of nowhere, camera work was incredible.
Yes.
Here comes the blur as the spear onto the Fiend, and we're off to the races. So what did you think of this newly minted in return Roman Reigns?
Visibly, he looked different. He was ripped, ripped like he hadn't been before. He just looked just visibly more imposing. He was meaner. He was nastier, and brand new teeth. Mm-hmm. The way that he was moving and the way that he talked over the Fiend was really good, because I felt like that was like this was a brand new Roman. This was a Roman that we never saw before.
He had an edge. He had an actual edge.
Yes, thank you. That is exactly what I was looking for. He had a real edge to him that he never had. And the wreck everyone and leave moniker was on the shirt. That's legitimately what he did. And it felt real. Because you had known for months that he was away, and he was away for obviously a good reason. And you weren't anticipating him coming back. But when you did think he was going to come back, I figured it was going to be big dog, like, but it wasn't that. It was a complete disregard of that big dog. It's my yard. And we have a brand new Roman Reigns.
Yeah. And you nailed it. His body, he changed everything. Yeah, the teeth is funny, because Randy Orton, I remember he posted that picture of Brian Griffin with the big teeth. Yes. But look, I mean, there is that. But I mean, he's carved out of stone here.
Yeah.
And my wife, I remember Mrs. Mongoose, her saying about him looking different. I was like, yeah, he was doughy before he left. And look, man, I wish that I could look like doughy Roman Reigns. This isn't a dig, but I'm saying compared to where he was in 2020, and then even through now, This dude's physique is sculpted. He looked like a megastar. He really did. He looked like he came right from a movie screen onto the TV.
Yeah.
And just like you said, man, it was an authentic thing that was missing before. And this, to me, reinforced the Kevin Nash anecdote of they made me smile and they took away my edge. And then I got a chance to go and be Kevin Nash in WCW.
Yeah.
And that was it, dude. I think that's as good an allegory as I can find. And we're off to the races, brother. I can't wait to go from here.
Yeah, like really put a cap on the end of this show is that this new character was reportedly pitched by Roman himself. This is a Roman creation. This is what he pitched to Vince. And this is reported, this is allegedly, that Roman was in such a rough spot whenever he had left for COVID that Vince was basically like, okay, this is your character. If it doesn't work, like this is all we got. This is the end of you here. Like you are free to do whatever you want to do if this doesn't work out. And look at where we are now.
Yeah. Yeah. But look, man, that's how many times we heard it. You know, this is Austin. You know, this is the NWO stuff. Like sometimes it clicks, and it absolutely did here. And we're 4 years later, we're doing YouTube shows about it. So I love it, brother.
Yes. So let us know in the comments what you remember of the big dog Roman Reigns in 2019 and into 2020, and what you think of his big return that he had at SummerSlam 2020. And that is where we will pick up in part 2. We're going to pick up this brand new Roman Reigns post SummerSlam 2020. And we're going to take you into the formation of the Bloodline with the original 3. So with that, I am Johnny Bake Show.
I'm Teddy Mongoose.
And we just called it in the ring.